Our sun is a 4.5 billion year old plasma ball made of hydrogen and helium and is vital for the solar system's stability. It's a yellow dwarf star, meaning it's pretty massive but at the same time not. Calling it massive is actually an understatement when you're talking about the solar system. It's 499 times the mass of everything else in the solar system combined, so it makes up 99.8% of the mass in the solar system. Its diameter is 1.4 million kilometers, which is 865,000 miles. Its surface temperature is as hot as the core of the Earth, being 5,000 degrees Celsius, which is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, while its core temperature is 27 million degrees Fahrenheit, which is 15 million degrees Celsius. The sun spins at different speeds in various parts. An average sun day at its equator is 25 Earth days, while at its pole it takes 36 Earth days. The sun is actually making us orbit the Milky Way galaxy at 828,000 kilometers per hour, but it still takes a whopping 230 million years for us to complete one whole orbit. So, if there's anything we can learn from what I just said, it's that the sun is massive, but there's stuff that's even more massive than that. Mercury is the closest planet to the sun, with 57 million kilometers or 35 million miles between it and the sun. Yeah, that's not too close. It's the smallest planet in the solar system, with a diameter of 4,878 kilometers, or 3,030 miles. That's a very tiny boy. Mercury is tidally locked to the sun. Tidal locking happens to Mercury because the sun's gravitational force is stronger than its own control on itself. So one side is always day and another side night. A tidally locked body takes just as long to rotate around its own axis as it does to revolve around its partner. So that means Mercury rotates on its axis every 84 Earth days. It has no atmosphere to distribute the temperature evenly, so during the day it reaches 427 degrees Celsius, which is 800 degrees Fahrenheit. During the night it reaches negative 137 degrees Celsius, or negative 279 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you can see why Mercury is not the hottest planet. Venus is the second closest planet to the Sun, with 67 million miles or 108 million kilometers from the Sun. Its diameter is 7,521 miles or 12,104 kilometers. An average rotation on its axis takes 243.025 Earth days. That's even more time than how much time it takes for a full rotation around the Sun for it, which is 225 days. It's the hottest planet with a temperature of a scorching 864 degrees Fahrenheit or 462 degrees Celsius. This is due to the most extreme greenhouse effect because the atmosphere is more than 90% carbon dioxide, and to add to that, its clouds are made of sulfuric acid. Its atmospheric pressure is 93 bar or 1350 psi, although it's called Earth's twin because it is similar in size, but other than that, they are not at all similar. So if you decided to take a stroll on Venus for some reason, you would be very dead in less than a second. Earth is the third closest to the Sun, and basically what planet we are living, breathing, and nuking each other on. An average rotation around the Sun for it is 364.25 days. A rotation around its axis lasts 24 hours on Earth. The average Earth temperature is 13.9 degrees Celsius or 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Therefore, it is possible for liquid water and a decent breathable atmosphere to exist. This led to bacteria and cell formation, which led to plants, animals, etc. The reason for this perfect climate is that the Earth is in the Goldilocks zone, a zone where it's not too hot for water to evaporate completely and never condensate, or it's not too cold that the water freezes over. It also has a moon named, well, Moon. Imagine a human named Human. The moon has no atmosphere and is one-fourth the size of Earth, which means it has the largest size in a planet-to-moon ratio. It was likely created when an object the size of Mars crashed into Earth. Mars is the fourth closest planet from the Sun and is the second smallest planet with a diameter of 6,779 kilometers or 4,220 miles. It has an orbital period of 687 days and rotates around its axis, just like Earth, every 24 hours. It has the largest mountain in the solar system, Olympus Mons, which is 25 kilometers or 72,000 feet tall. That's about 2.5 times taller than Mount Everest above sea level. Mars's soil is red because it's full of iron, and as you know, when iron is exposed to the sun, it rusts and turns red. It has two poles like Earth that are covered with ice, meaning Mars is 25% water. Mars also has two moons, Phobos and Deimos. Mars probably must have captured them from the asteroid belt. Sadly, Mars's company is not going to last long. Phobos is so close to Mars that eventually it will crash into it. Deimos, on the other hand, is moving away from Mars. After Deimos leaves, Mars will be all alone, unless, of course, it captures some more asteroids. Jupiter is the fourth farthest from the Sun and is the largest planet with a diameter of 139,820 kilometers. It rotates around its axis every 10 hours, which is fastest of all the planets. Although it takes 12 Earth years to complete one revolution around the Sun. It's a gas giant, meaning it has no solid surface, but its atmosphere, on the other hand, is bustling with storms, of which the Great Spot is the most famous, and is big enough to fit Earth inside it. It has 79 moons, one of which is Ganymede, the biggest moon in the solar system. Jupiter is often called a failed star, but to be classified as one, it would need to be 600 times its size. But most importantly, Jupiter keeps asteroids from hitting Earth and wiping out life. So yeah, it's pretty badass. Saturn is the third farthest from the Sun and is the second largest planet with a diameter of 116,460 kilometers. Saturn takes 11 hours to rotate around its axis and rotates around the Sun every 30 Earth years. Although it's the second largest planet, it has less density than Earth. Water even. So if you had a big enough bathtub, you probably don't, Saturn will float in it. Saturn has the largest rings in the solar system. Its rings are made of ice and dust, the remains of a dead moon. Speaking of which, Saturn has 63 moons, or so we think. The largest of them is Titan, and beneath its icy surface it has lakes, rivers, and oceans even. Did I mention the ice volcanoes? But more on Titan later. We have a bigger crisis. Saturn's rings are disappearing. In less than 100 million years, Saturn's rings will completely disappear. The reason for this is that the rings are losing a battle between the Sun's radiation and Saturn's gravity. But don't worry, we still have millions of years before that happens. Uranus is the second farthest planet from the Sun. Yeah, that's never gonna sound right. It's the third largest planet with a diameter of 50,724 kilometers. An average revolution around the Sun takes 34 Earth years. That's older than my grandpa. Although it only takes 17 hours for a complete rotation around this axis. How does that even make sense? It's the coldest planet with a freezing negative 356 degrees Fahrenheit. It has 27 moons, a significant drop in satellites if we're talking about the other two gas giants before it. Probably because Uranus stinks. Okay, I'll admit I wasn't even trying that time. The reason for this is that the clouds are made of hydrogen sulfide. Basically, it's the element that makes stinky things very stinky. But, see what I did there? There's also something interesting about Uranus. I'm not talking about your thick cheeks. I'm talking about the tilted axis of the planet. It's tilted 180 degrees, probably because of an asteroid impact. This also affects the orbits of its satellites. Neptune is the farthest planet from the Sun and is the fourth largest planet with a diameter of 49,244 kilometers. As expected, it takes more than a lifetime to complete an orbit, which for Neptune is 165 years. That's older than John Calment, the oldest human being ever, but a Neptunian day takes only about 16 hours. It has 14 moons, the largest of which is Triton. It has many storms and explosion hurricanes called hyperhurricanes. Heck, it has the fastest wind speed ever recorded in the solar system, nearing 1,200 miles per hour. Remember Triton? Science says that it's a captured dwarf planet, which now orbits Neptune as a satellite. What's even more sus is that it orbits Neptune in a retrograde orbit, and the sussiest thing is that Neptune is slowing Triton down. Eventually, Triton will crash into Neptune and form beautiful rings like Saturn. Now we know Neptune's evil plan to get rings. Subscribe for more content just like this.